Hi, welcome to MexProg. We're very glad to have you here, and the fans in Mexico are very interested to know who you are, what instruments you play, what's your musical education. Can you tell us something about that?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've been playing music since I was a kid. I started in school playing clarinet, actually, and haven't hardly played it since until just recently with Neal asked me to play some clarinet on the new album. But became interested in guitar and keyboards when I was a teenager, and was really interested in progressive rock music. Groups like my favorite bands at the time were Kansas and Genesis and Yes and things like that, and which wasn't really interested in. Well, I like other kinds of music too, but that kind of music really captured my imagination, especially back in the late '70s. The keyboards and synthesizers were really a kind of a new thing in music, and were very mysterious and interesting sounding. I went to school to Berklee College of Music in Boston, which is kind of was known as a jazz school at the time.
So, sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned Berklee, and I immediately wonder if you ran into Mike Portnoy there.
But, no, he was there like the next year after I was there. Mm-hmm. I think he was there in '85, and I was there in '84, '83, '84. So no, I didn't. And I wonder if I had stayed another year, if my life would have been different. If I would have connected with Mike, and would have, who knows? But hey, so I'm going to get to play with him now. So
after all, yeah, that's going to come true. But how many instruments do you play? That's the question that everybody's asking here.
Oh, well, I started on woodwinds, so I play clarinet and saxophone. Would like to play flute, but I'm still working on that. Then guitar and keyboards is my primary instrument. That's what I'm most comfortable playing, keyboards. But pretty good on guitar, and in the last few years I've been playing violin. So I'll be playing some violin on the tour this year as well. Originally Neal thought he might go with a 5-piece band, in which case I probably would have played guitar, but we decided, mostly I think just because of all the complex vocal arrangements, to go with a 6-piece. And Eric has a great voice, and he's a great guitar player and keyboard player as well, so we're going to be sharing the parts there. So I probably won't be playing guitar, and Eric will be covering the extra guitar parts. But I did contribute some clarinet parts actually to the new album.
You were, I imagine that while you were auditioning, the idea of you contributing to Momentum came up, and how did that come about?
Afterwards, and it was a very pleasant surprise. I mean, during the audition process, we had sent videos in, and I just really wanted to play with Neal, so I sent him everything that I could do, including clarinet. And there wasn't, it's not a lot of call for clarinet in rock music, and but so I played clarinet and saxophone, and I think he just became interested in that because it was different and not a lot of clarinet. And he had a spot on one of the new songs that needed something extra, and after I came home from the audition, he contacted me and asked me if I would try something on that. So I did, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. It came out really nice.
Have you heard the final mix of Momentum?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what is your impression of the album in general?
Oh, it's great. It's definitely everybody's going to interpret it different. I think it sounds more similar to some of the last Spock Spears albums that he was on than some of his other more recent stuff. I think mainly just because it's more it's doesn't have quite the level of orchestration on it that some of the most recent albums have. So it's more rock, but really cool stuff.
And how did you get involved with Neal's audition? How did that come about?
Boy, that was a miracle as far as I'm concerned, because could have very easily have missed the announcement for the audition. But I know Randy George. I've known him for about 10 years. He was a fan of actually one of my previous bands, 10.10, and I connected with him a few years back, and I just happened to. I was looking in my email box, and I was clicking around, and I happened to click on one of my email boxes that I haven't looked in for months and months. And it's where all my, progressive rock emails come into, the different groups and things online. And I just happened to catch my eye caught Neal Morse open auditions, and I had this panic. How old is this email? This email could have been, 2 months old for all I know. I may have missed it. And I just caught it just in time to send in the audition videos. And so it just was very exciting.
And then you went to Nashville, but that you weren't chosen yet. You had to.
Right.
There was a second part to the audition. I saw the tapes that Randy was posting, and how did that go? The chemistry between you guys.
Well, you don't know what to expect. I mean, the music is challenging, so it takes a lot of time, and there's more keyboard parts than one person can play. But I didn't know. I didn't have at that point. I didn't have a direct connection with Neal. I couldn't ask him, well, which parts are you playing, and I'll play the other parts, or I just had to try to learn everything. So I was probably over prepared, which is fine, but I definitely didn't know what I was walking into. So I just tried to just learn everything that I could do, prepare to go down. And what was funny was when Neal had a challenge, and that he couldn't show any excitement about anybody, because he wanted to be fair. If he really liked you during the audition, he had to kind of keep it low key, and because other people were coming in, the next guys were coming in, and he couldn't, it wouldn't be fair for him to be really excited about somebody in front of somebody else, So I come in and I do the audition, and which is fun. I mean, it was worth the trip, just to get to play with Neal and everybody, and even if I hadn't got the job, it still would have been great just to get down. But you did the audition, and you're looking for, when you're auditioning for something like that, you're looking for some immediate feedback. You want to know, did he think I did a good job? Was he excited about me maybe being a part of this? And he really was restrained, and he couldn't. He didn't react. It was just okay. Well, thanks for coming.
I imagine the tension with all the work you put in and not exactly knowing at that moment what was going on.
Right. So I was actually the very first audition, first thing on the Friday morning, and so I had to wait until Saturday afternoon to find out. And then they called me to come back to the studio. But I still didn't know until I showed up, and I walked in, and then they told me. So, but I became familiar with Neal's music in the late '90s with Spock's Beard, and he instantly became one of my favorite songwriters. And if you would have asked me any time in the last 10 or 15 years who I would most want to play with in a band, I would have said Neal. And so it's just amazing to me. I can't believe that I'm going to get to play with him. Just amazing.
And already you're in the new album, so that's you
yeah.
immediately jumped into the wagon. It's
yeah.
Okay, bass solo time. Put on this patented Randy George hat. Bass solo, okay.